the Kenyan Parliament had passed initially the law called the Financial Bill 2024. They had passed it, they wanted it to become a law. Now it means, had that law passed, it means it would put taxes on almost every commodity in Kenya, including essential commodities. Because it means taxes on oil would increase, taxes on bread, taxes on things even as far as sanitary pads and diapers, even motor vehicles and everything. Now the intention is the Kenyan government under President William Ruto, the country, when he took over power, he found the country was heavily indebted. During Kenyatta's time and Kibaki's time, Kenya borrowed heavily from international lenders so as to finance infrastructure and other government projects. Now, Kenya was so indebted to the extent that every 100 shillings that is collected by the Kenyan Revenue Authority, 61 shillings goes to pay the debt, leaving little money for local development. So in order for the government to reduce that debt, the only option was they couldn't now borrow anymore. Now was to increase the taxes, what they call widening the tax base. But to the ordinary Kenyans, why they went to the streets? For them, they believe they already have enough taxes, which they are servicing. But also too, already the costs of living in Kenya is very high. A lot of commodities prices have increased, but also the Kenyan shilling has depreciated and the debt is increasing. So they cannot, they're already suffocating, so they cannot allow any increase in the tax. So therefore, especially the youth mobilized themselves and went on the street protesting the tax. So they achieved two things. One, they stormed the parliament, made some destruction, but also forced the president to concede defeat and promising Kenyans that he will not sign that bill into the law. Now, what does it mean for Uganda? One, Kenya is a regional economic powerhouse. 80% of the Ugandan imports and exports pass through Kenya, because Uganda is a landlocked country and Kenya has a port, that is Mombasa. Now it means by the chaos appearing in Kenya, it means the demonstrators will block roads, will destroy vehicles coming to Uganda. So if this, we pray hard that the demonstrations will not continue for a week. If that one happens, we shall have shortage of electricity, of fuel in Uganda. We shall have raw materials coming to feed our industries will no longer come in Uganda, and therefore our factories will lack raw materials to use, and therefore prices of commodities will increase. Yes. Now, every time there is a riot in Kenya, Uganda is affected. In 2007, we were greatly affected during the riots then. So it means our planners are always sleeping, they are not learning any lesson. It means we always think about alternative routes when there is problems in Kenya. But our planners should begin thinking about the southern route through the port of Tanga in Tanzania and Dar es Salaam. Much as they say that that route is very long. Secondly, our planners, especially the Ministry of Energy, should begin thinking of abandoning transporting fuel using trucks. They can now consider constructing a pipeline from Mombasa, possibly to Port Bell in New Zealand, so that we avoid that issue of using trucks, because the pipes, they are more secure. But also three, the government should consider now investing in a standard gauge railway. Already Kenya has done their part. Their railway has reached Naivasha, but Uganda have not begun ours. So it means if the standard gauge railway had begun from Mombasa up to Kampala, the railway is more safe than the trucks, is more vulnerable than the trucks. But also, Uganda as a country, we should think about constructing huge fuel reserves, such that we at any time we have reserves of fuel that can push us for a year. For example, every day Uganda uses 7 liters of fuel per day. So it means within 7 days, our tanks in Jinja have the capacity to hold 30 million liters. So it means if the situation becomes worse in Kenya, we only have fuel that can run us for a week. I'm happy the president has brought in an investor from Dubai who's going to construct fuel reserves in Mpigi that will be holding close to 350 million liters of fuel. That is good. So those are some of the alternatives that the government can do to avoid future crises. Is that most of the economies in East Africa, they have what they call the narrow tax base. In other words, the same people are being taxed time and again. You find one person paying more than like 10 taxes. That is one. Then two, the government of East Africa, most of them, they have not looked at the corruption. Most of the money is collected, but it is stolen by government thieves. So it means if governments, especially in Uganda and Kenya, if government can work on the issue of corruption, so that the money that is being stolen can be recovered, it may prevent people from being taxed highly. For example, in Uganda, reports show every year 9 trillion shillings is lost through corruption. That is 17% of the budget we are running now. Now, assuming that 9 trillion was saved, people would be saved the burden of raising taxes. Two, governments in East Africa, the officials, they are doing what they call lavish expenditure. Foreign trips, things like hospitality, state house, ministries, they have money for eating, they have money for traveling, per diem, buying vehicles unnecessarily. So if those expenditures can be cut or reduced, it means the expenditures, the taxes will be narrow. And that's why President Ruto, in one of the way forward, is saying he has ordered all government agencies to reduce their taxes, including the State House. I think that is the way to go. Some people are beginning to say possibly the president now has begun the war against corruption. Now Parliament is supposed to appropriate the funds, the taxpayers' funds, but also to supervise the funds. But it has been discovered that some of the MPs either put some accounting officers under pressure to inflate their budgets such that they can cut for them what they call kickbacks. So some people are saying, yes, the president has begun their own corruption. As we speak now, 5 MPs are in Uzira on corruption-related charges. But the president, people want to see him widening the net and capturing more people other than, but also we have seen in most cases some people, corruption cases don't end. We don't see people being jailed. These people may go to Uzira, yes, but it may be for public gallery. But where do these cases end? How many convictions have we had? How many people have been convicted and their houses sold and their property sold? We've not seen this in Uganda. So that's what people want to see happening.